I was like, wow, man, it's crazy how we're literally walking side by side, talking every single day. Yet I'm making $7.25 an hour, which is minimum wage, and you're making $10 million. And I was like, what separates the two of us? And I realized.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the PVH podcast. I'm your host, Brian Ballard. In this episode, we have a conversation with Elite Sweets founder and CEO, Amin Bahari. We cover in this episode Amin's life growing up with a family full of obesity and diabetes, working with family, his amazing transformation of losing over 140 pounds, and how do you find and nurture relationships with mentors. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with my friend, Amin Bahari. All right, so I'm here with my buddy Amin from Elite Sweets. Amin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How's it going?
Man, every day's a holiday, my friend. I can't complain. So for, I guess, for the people who don't know you personally, but they know the brand, I want to give them some context. So what was life like as 10-year-old Amin?
As 10-year-old Amin, I guess just like any regular kid, man, just not really sure what I want to do in life. Obviously, had the kind of the traditional path of go to school, go to college, get an education, and eventually work. I always was kind of entrepreneurial in life. I was one of those kids who had the lemonade stands growing up. I was one of those kids who, saw things laying around the house and just found a way to sell them. I would like to sell things on eBay, Craigslist, and just make a little bit of money. I was always, eager to work for the first time and just have my own income and money that I could spend on things. I like to play a lot of video games, so getting the next new coolest video game was kind of always my thing. But I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I always wanted to do something in business. So I have a twin brother, and we always kind of gravitated towards the same thing, but just a huge fan of like sports and business, and that's really what kind of guided my path to where I am today, really.
Did your parents instill that in you at all, or was that just something that you just picked up naturally?
I don't know. I think really it was just something we picked up naturally. My parents aren't like entrepreneurs per se, or didn't really have their own business. It was just one of those things. As a kid, I liked having a little bit of money. I always wanted to buy my own things, or like get the newest video game, buy a new pair of shoes, or whatever it was. And I didn't come from a rich family, and it was just like, if you want to buy something, you're gonna have to make your own money. And so I always waited to the day that I turned 16 so I can get a job. And before then, it was just like, what can I sell around the house, or what can I find? Whose yard can I go cut? I was just always kind of resourceful. I think it was just kind of how I really grew up, and just something we always gravitated towards. I don't really know what pushed us in that direction, but I guess some people are just kind of born with it.
Yeah, I think I had a guest not too long ago, and I kind of said the same thing, which was like when you have the bug, in the sense of when you get your first taste of commerce.
Yeah.
So like a garage sale, a transaction of some kind, like that lemonade stand you just mentioned. It's addicting, and you're like, what else can I sell to get this thing that I want, or to just fill up my piggy bank with something. So for me, it was garage selling. I would sell my favorite toys. Like, I didn't even care, man. I just wanted the cash. And I too kind of grew up like in a very middle class family. Mom and dad had nine to five jobs. Mom was actually a stay at home mom for a little bit. Before she kind of entered the workforce, because I think she was just taking care of me while my brother and my sister were in school. But yeah, I think we're cut from the same cloth. That it was just like that dopamine hit that you get when you make that first sale, and it just becomes addicting, and you constantly chase that for the rest of your life.
100%.
What So you had an incredible weight loss journey growing up, and you lost 140 pounds, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was the specific moment where you thought, I just need to lose weight, because you were over 300 pounds, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. When I was in high school, I think it was going into my senior year of high school, I weighed 340 pounds. So I always played football growing up. I have a twin brother, so we always played together. And to be honest, man, I always thought my path was going to be, oh, I was going to go play college football. I was going to go do this, go do that. But then I never really grew. Obviously, I got heavier, I put on weight, but I never really grew into my height. And so I stayed the same height since I was sixth grade. I was like 5'8" when I was in sixth grade. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be six something. I'm going to go play college. Everything's going to get paid for. That was kind of my plan. And then I realized going into, I think it was my junior year of high school, I was like, wow, I'm didn't never grew. I guess that was it for me. And it's one of those things where it was just like, all right, well, I'm a realistic person. I saw that, I love sports, I love football, and it was fun to me. But I saw I wasn't gonna go play college football, not at my size, because at my weight, the only position you can play is offensive line or defensive line, and it's like at 5'8", you're not playing college sports. And so that's when I decided, I just turned 16. I got a job. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to go to college, I'm going to have to pay for this myself. So I just started working. I really just started working at the local grocery store as a cashier, just started saving up money and decided I'm going to forego, the rest of my high school career playing sports because at the end of the day, I'm kind of looking forward at this point, and I'm like, now I can finally make some money. Practices get in the way, and that's when I decided to obviously stop sports, work, and then I realized like, hey, I grew up in a family with diabetes and obesity, and obviously my brother and I were on the verge of it ourselves, and I didn't want to live that life, and so going into our senior year, right before pretty much college was going to start, we're like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's once and for all, commit to this. And we ultimately kind of went on like we really kind of adopted a new lifestyle. It was like a high protein keto lifestyle, really focused on what we put in our body and just working out and exercising and all that. And in just over a year, I lost 140 pounds. My brother lost about 100 pounds. And I think the inspiration is really just to kind of live a healthier life. We were young, we had the energy, and it never gets easier as you get older, and we knew that. And so we decided, why not now? Like, let's not put this off. And I think that transformation and that journey of committing to something for so long and really having the discipline for an extended period of time really helped change our mindset and shifted everything for us to really help us believe that we could do anything we wanted in life. It's not easy to have a big weight loss journey. It takes a lot of hard work and commitment. And once you've accomplished something and see the results and the fruits of your labor for an extended period of time, I think that really shifted our mindset moving forward and kind of going into college that we could do anything we wanted. And ultimately, I think that really helped us kind of pivot into why we just thought we could create a business right out of college, and that led us to kind of where we are today.
So you mentioned that your family had a history of obesity and diabetes.
Mm.
When they were watching you guys transform your bodies, did that ultimately inspire them to do the same?
Not so much, but they did adopt to the change. So it really got to the point where we started doing the grocery shopping because we were like, we're not going to have this in the house. We're not going to do this and that. And our parents respected it. I think they saw what we were doing, and ultimately, not that they committed as hardcore as we did. I would say more so on the diet side because, like I said, we were kind of doing the shopping. We were preparing the food or doing what we needed to do, but not necessarily on the exercise thing. My parents are a lot older. My mom had us at my mom and dad had us at like 40 years old. So like at this point they're in their like, late 50s, early, mid to late 50s. And, they weren't going to just start working out then. But overall, because of that, that's when they did start eating a lot healthier. Like every meal was focused around protein. They knew if it didn't have, like if it wasn't high in protein, like we weren't going to get it. And not to say we didn't have cheat meals or anything, but if we're going to get pizza, we're going to put bacon, chicken, we're going to put all the extra protein on it because if not, it's just crap. And so we as a family, we did make those changes, even little things like almond milk instead of like, regular milk and things like that. So I would say from that perspective, yes. But ultimately it was kind of something that me and my brother were really, it was kind of our focus and that was our goal.
And I would say probably one of the biggest, and you can agree or disagree with me on this one, but one of the biggest obstacles I feel when people are having a weight loss journey is support.
Mm-hmm.
So just having a good support system around them. It doesn't seem like that was the the obstacle for you. So what was the biggest obstacle for you, and how did you ultimately overcome that?
The biggest obstacle in my weight loss journey.
Yep.
Honestly, I know it sounds crazy. I don't feel like I had any obstacle because like I had the support of my brother. I have a twin brother and we did it together. So we worked out together. We committed to a better diet. We did everything together. So in terms of obstacle, we were so committed. Like nobody could tell us any other way. So I don't feel like there was anything that was gonna stop us. You know, we were very regimented. We had a singular focus, and there wasn't a lot. You know, being a high school kid, there's not a lot of barriers or a lot of things that stop you from doing that. It's really just kind of your commitment. And honestly, looking back on it, I don't know what really kept us so focused, but I think it was just that objective to reach our goal and be happy with ourselves. So I don't really feel like there was anything that stopped us because there's a lot of things that we could have done differently or gone the other way, but never kind of looked the other way when it came to our goal. And yeah, I don't have a great answer for that, to be honest with you.
So, um, obviously, let me preface this question with
Yeah.
everybody knows that you're not a doctor and this isn't medical
Okay.
advice, but there are millions of people that are suffering from obesity and illnesses that come with obesity. So if someone came to you and said, I mean, through your personal experience, what are like the top three tips that you can give me to help me lose weight?
Yeah, I think the big thing is goal setting. I think really setting the expectation, like setting a goal for yourself, and then having the expectation. And I think your goals are. I think you need to start small and then have like moving targets. Once you achieve one goal, you can reach the next. Then I think more than kind of the physical component of everything, like the whole weight loss journey and your transformation, it's really about the mental. I think that's the most difficult thing is committing to, you know, whatever your lifestyle changes, because I think the word diet is just so temporary. Like we can all diet for 3 weeks, but if the next 5 weeks after that is pizza and cookies, it really doesn't mean anything. So I think it's really focusing on your mental, setting small goals, and really focus on being realistic with your expectations. So if you weigh 500 pounds, you're not going to go run a marathon day one. If your mindset is like, oh, I want to go run a marathon, that should be your final end goal. You know what I mean? Your first day should be like, I want to take 100, I want to take 50 steps. You know what I mean? I want to walk a lap. And I think you got to really kind of build and compound off that. If you always kind of look too far in advance and your goal is to run that marathon, but you weigh 500 pounds, like that's not realistic. And I think that's one thing with the whole journey is like you got to understand your physical abilities and set those goals. And most of it's mental. It's not really your physical abilities. It's really setting that mindset of like, this is what I need to do every day. I can't steer away from this plan, or I'm always going to get the same results that I've always gotten. So I would say those are kind of like the things that really kept us in check.
And what was like that go-to meal for you? Not the cheap meal, but like when you're on this lifelong journey, which I guess let me take a little side detour here, but
Yeah.
you're right in the sense of when people start looking at things long term as opposed to short term,
Hmm.
uh, it seems like we get a lot more value and results from whatever plan we have. So, in the sense of when I go to the gym and I miss a couple days or a week or whatever it may be,
Hmm.
especially when my son was born, I missed out like I think like no, like 2 months. I think I missed out on, and the whole time I was like, man, I can't believe it. All my quote unquote gains, which I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at my noodle arms, I really didn't have that many gains. But in any case, when you start changing your perspective and you start saying, well, fitness is not right now.
Mhm.
Fitness is a lifetime, right? It's
Right.
something where I hope to do well into my 80s and 90s, and if there's any medical wonders out there into your hundreds, right?
Right.
But it's one of those things where you have to make the decision where this is just the new me,
Hmm.
right? This isn't something where this is a pit stop, right? There is no like final destination, I guess, when it comes to fitness or health. It's a lifelong journey.
Hmm.
Um, so I agree with you there, where it's kind of like making it a lifestyle. It's not necessarily like a diet or a a 21-day cleanse or something like that,
Right.
right? But going back to my original question, which was, um, what was like that one dish that you always had that was like your go-to, right? Like, and I'm not talking about like the cheating one. I'm talking about like the one that you had when you were on your weight loss journey. What was like that one dish where you're like, I can't wait to have this because it's nutritious, but it's also delicious.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll just tell you like what we did every day, and hopefully this answers your question. So our routine was we had a protein shake for breakfast. We didn't eat until at this time it was after school, so we pretty much kind of fasted the whole day. I guess this, like I said, we're in high school. We didn't eat lunch when everyone else ate lunch. We used to just go to the library and hang out, play on the computer, whatever kids do when we were seniors and could go off campus. We just go hang out for a little bit, wait till after school, and then when we came home, that's when we ate. We ate one meal a day, and we would usually we ate whatever we wanted, so we had no limitations on what we could eat. I'd say our go-to, we always, man, here in Texas, we love our burritos and Tex-Mex. So I would say we ate a lot of like we have a lot of good burrito places here. Just fill it up, just eat a big burrito as much as we wanted for lunch, and then for dinner, a protein shake and nothing in between. We were very strict and regimented. There was no snacks. There was no extra. It was just one meal and then our protein shakes for dinner and breakfast, and that was what we did for probably over a year straight.
I
One
would
meal.
have to agree with your comment on burritos
Yeah,
and barbecue.
yeah.
Austin has some serious burritos and barbecue,
Oh yeah.
and I just it's things that I dream about. Um, just the barbecue over there, and as well as the Tex-Mex and so on and so forth. So I agree wholeheartedly. So I appreciate you telling me what you guys used to eat. That's that is very regimented. I don't think I would be able to have the discipline to kind of do something like that, especially at that age.
Yeah,
Um,
I look back and I'm like, I don't know how the hell we did it for so long because I can't even do it today. I try and I'm like, man, my taste buds just crave these delicious foods here in Austin, like you said, and I don't know how we did it, but I'm glad we did. I'm glad we did it while we could and while we were able to. But I think that was it. It was like we had that balance of like whatever we wanted for lunch. We weren't like, oh, grilled chicken and broccoli like everyone else because we would have burned out probably pretty quickly. But because we knew we had something to look forward to at the end of the day and splurge on a delicious meal, whatever it was. I think that's kind of what helped balance us. But yeah, that was pretty much what we did every day.
so let's fast forward just a little bit into
Yep.
your career, and this is before Elite Suites. So, um, you worked in ticket sales, you worked as a cashier at HEB, and then you worked as a product advisor for Microsoft.
Mm.
So, what of I guess with all those careers or those jobs, did any of those have any lessons or skills that you were able to translate into Elite Suites?
Yeah, I think they all had their own set of lessons. I guess I'll start first with working at HEB. So, for those of you who are from Texas, it's kind of our big grocery chain. Like I said, turned 16 and was finally able to get a job. I worked at HEB for like 5 years just as a cashier, pretty much full time, almost full time, uh, till I got into college. And then while I was in college, I kind of did it part time. Obviously, I was a full time student. But I think the biggest takeaway, other than kind of learning a little bit about how the grocery stores work and about CPG generally, kind of like from the product standpoint, like the point of sales perspective. My number one takeaway was I do not want to do this shit for the rest of my life. I was like, I don't want to work for other people. I was like, I hate waking up early to come clock in to open the store. I hate being told what to do. I hate the management, like being micromanaged every second and working on someone else's schedule. Like that was my number one takeaway. I dreaded every fucking day I went. Sorry about cussing, but I dreaded every
Okay.
day coming to work, and I was like, my number one takeaway is like I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. So I'd say that was like the number one thing that like really instilled or like reaffirmed my belief that I'm gonna start my own business and I'm gonna be an entrepreneur because it was like I can't do this. Like I was like I would be miserable if I had to do this for the next 50 years. So I would say that was kind of like my number one takeaway, and then kind of going into college. I didn't have time to go back and forth to my store because it was in another town. Like I grew up in the Austin area, and then I went to school at UT, which is in Austin, but like still the store is about 45 minutes apart, and I was kind of doing that commuting. So I just got on campus jobs. I worked like in the student union for a little bit. I worked in the library. I did ticket sales just to kind of make some money while I was in college. Because like I said, I always kind of look forward and kind of put things in perspective. And one thing I always heard about college is like the debt, you know what I mean? And people come out with these ridiculous sums, like 100,000 in debt, and I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I can't do that shit. So I was like, I'm gonna pay for my tuition as I go. I'm gonna pay my own rent. Yeah, I took out a little bit of loans, but I mean, I owe probably call it $6,000, which is relatively low graduating compared to some of these other people, and I just paid for things as I went. So I just worked, and I thought it was cool because I got to meet people on campus and do these little jobs, and so that was kind of what that was. I just worked these kind of like one-off jobs when I was in school just to make some money. But I would say the to kind of like bring this whole question to totality was like during my time I was working with the Texas football team. That was in my senior year of college. Was really nothing. It's just kind of the connections and then obviously the experience over time. And so that really kind of opened my eyes that anybody can be anything they want. And really just being at the university I was at, man, there's a lot of rich kids. They talk about vacations and going here and there. I was like, I didn't have one vacation when I was growing up. So like to hear like, oh, we're going to Italy or we're going to this place, I'm like, I'd love to do that one day too. And so I think that's what really kind of opened my eyes to like the bigger picture. And during my time working with a team, we were always surrounded by like the high protein cookies, brownies, shakes. So I'd always go to the weight room, take a bunch of snacks home. We'd always eat that stuff. And then like being college students, late night munchies on a budget, we always found ourselves at the local donut shop. Me, a bunch of the football players, we were always hanging out, and we were always at the local donut shop, scarfing down dozens of donuts. And that's where the idea sparked for us. We're like, why isn't there a better for you donut? We saw kind of what Halo Top did to ice cream at the time. There's Lenny and Larry's cookies, brownies, all these things, but there really wasn't like this like low sugar protein packed keto donut that people could resort to. And that's how we got started. We literally just started, taking protein powders from the weight room, from the college athletic weight room, and just going home and mixing stuff up and trying to make protein donut recipes. And that's literally how we started our business. So I know it was a long-winded answer, but I think kind of every little job had its own perk for the most part, or like had its own key takeaway. And me not wanting to work for others was my number one takeaway, and then working with the football team kind of just evolved into me starting the business.
You know, people who, managers, customers, so on and so forth, and then I got promoted to loss prevention. Now, loss prevention, for those who don't know, is assets protection. I guess that's what they call it in most places. Basically, you just catch people stealing. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, and that really taught me about managing people's emotions, as well as managing my own. So it was, Target taught me a lot of things. It taught me what type of leadership model I wanted to follow.
Mhm.
how I wanted to manage people as opposed to not managing people. And ultimately, just like you, it taught me that I didn't want to work for anybody. It taught me that I wanted to do this on my own because I felt like I can do it better.
Yep.
So I did, and here we both are, right? Um, what what kind of person were you in school? And by that I mean, like for example, in school, I was the kind of person that I never had many enemies, but I didn't have that many close friends either. And the reason why was because I was always playing politics. I always wanted to be a part of every group, not just a particular group. So I would hang out with the goth kids. I would hang out with the jocks. I would hang out with everybody. And the only reason why was because I just it was the social capital that came um, with kind of hanging out with these multiple groups. So ultimately, what that did for me was, like I said, it taught me how to communicate effectively, or at least to the best of my abilities as a high school student. Um, but it also, I never had like that core group of friends like my dad has, that these guys still to this day, like they'll help him out with anything, they're there for him. So I kind of had like tertiary friends, right? I had friends on the outskirts. I never had friends that were like really close. So what kind of person were you in high school and college?
Yeah, I would actually, that's a great question. I was two different people, that's for sure. So in high school, I was friends with everyone, man. I would say like I didn't discriminate. I was cool with everyone. I'm one of those people. I'm easy to get along with, and I can be cool with everyone. I think I have that personality that people can gravitate towards. So, uh, friends with everybody. But I would say my core group of friends for sure when I was in high school was like the football team and like the football players, because we all played football. We spent so much time together, practice, locker room, games, kind of growing up. And outside of school, we'd work out together. We'd always play football in the neighborhood at the park. Like that was what we did. Besides video games together, man, we were outdoors playing football every single day, just kind of at the park. So that was kind of my core group. Even to this day, man, I hang out with them, like working out with some of my buddies this morning, um, and so like that was my core group. And then I would say when I went to college, well, I guess taking a step back, one thing or two about high school besides kind of the friends, horrible student, man. Like I would tell you, like did not care about anything. Like I didn't feel the need to. And my parents always pushed us to like get good grades. But I was like naturally smart where I could like not do homework, not study, and still get the A's and B's like consistently. Never really had to worry about anything else. And then the tests, man, like when it came to like the SATs and stuff like that, just good enough to get into. So I wanted to go to Texas State University, which is kind of like the uh, you know, a school that most people who can't get into like the top tier schools go to in Texas. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great school. My parents got their undergrad there. And that was kind of my expectation. I'm gonna go to Texas State. It's a fun school, party school, great, great everything. And I got in, and that was good enough for me. And my twin brother, he was even worse than me. He didn't care either. He couldn't get into any university coming out of high school, so he actually went to community college. And it's funny because I just remember one of my math teacher, love her to death to this day. Still have her like on Facebook or whatever, but she was like, "You guys aren't going to make it in college because like our our homework average was a zero. Like our class was like a 20 because no one did homework. We just didn't care." And she was like, "You're not going to make it in college. This, that, the other." And we're like, "Look, in college we have to pay for it." I was like, I'm gonna be a lot more serious when my money's on the line." And I was eventually, but kind of going back to that story. So my brother, he couldn't get into any university, and so he went to community college. I went to Texas State. And after my first semester at Texas State and his in community college, he calls me one day and goes, "Hey, I mean, I'm going to UT, the University of Texas, which is the best university in Texas, and hard as hell to get into." He's like, "I got a 4.0 this semester," and he's like, "I'm going to transfer into UT." And I was like, "Fuck no." I was like, "You go to UT?" I was like, "Absolutely not." He's like, "No, dude, I'm going to do it." He's like, "I'm going to get a 4.0 next semester." And he said, "I'm going to get in." I was like, well, shit, if you can do it, I can do it because we're twin brothers and we're competitive. So I actually left Texas State after one semester and I went to community college because I was like, I'm not going to graduate from here, so why spend any more money here? Went to community college for one semester. I got a 4.0, and ultimately we both transferred into UT. And I think that was also like a life changing moment for both of us. But it was just kind of that competitive instinct of being twin brothers. I didn't want to be one up by my twin. And so we got to college, and when I got to college, man, like I said, same personality as high school, was friends with everyone, had my core group. I studied, so I wanted to get into the business school, but kind of given that the university business school is so hard to get into, like a 4.0 doesn't guarantee admission. And the thing is, you have to wait an entire year to apply. And you can wait a year and get denied, even with the 4.0, which is stupid, but that's how competitive it is. My number one goal when I got to college was get out as fast as possible. Like that was my mindset. I was like, I don't want to spend more than 4 years here. I just want to be in and out. And that being said, I ended up studying sport management, which is kind of combining my love for sports and business. And that's where I made a lot of my friends was in that major with that core group of like we all had the same classes together. I had the same professor probably like 4 times when I was there. Um, and I loved it, man. We had a core group that we studied with, and then the football players were in the same classes. And then I worked with the football team, and hung out with those guys all the time. And I would say that was kind of my main group was kind of the athletes, and then my classmates. And I tried harder in college because my money was on the line. So it all kind of came together. But another long-winded answer, but it's kind of cool unpacking some of these earlier days for me.
I love it, man. I love it. And uh, I too was a very poor student. I would get like D3 A's, and the A was conduct. So I was never a bad kid. I was just a bad student.
Yeah, same.
So my teachers always loved me, but I just never did anything in class.
Yeah.
And then when I met Josie, she was in all honors classes, AP classes, all that stuff, straight A's.
Mhm.
And
I never
when
took
she
one, by
went
the way.
to, because I was the what is it?
I never took one, by the way. I never took AP class. I never challenged myself ever. Never took
Oh, neither
one.
did I. No,
Didn't
neither
even
did
know.
I.
I was like, I'm good on that.
No, yeah, yeah. No, I never took any of those kinds of classes. I was fine just being a regular student,
Mhm.
just kind of getting my way through high school with just my personality. And what I realized was that Josie wasn't going to date a bum. Um, and by that I mean just someone who just doesn't have a college degree. So I reluctantly went to college because of Josie, and I told her, I said, I'm gonna graduate before you. That's my goal. The only goal I had, not to be a great student in college or whatever. It was just to graduate before you. Granted, I had a year head start on Josie because I was a senior and she was a junior, and I did graduate before her, but I only graduated one day before her because my graduation was technically the day before hers. So I technically still graduated before her. So I like to use that whenever I can. So. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Where I also was not a good student, but it seems like us, not good students, made it out pretty good. So, um, but I know that I only got a couple more minutes with you, so I want to talk about Elite Suites because we've been talking a lot about your past, but let's talk about the current and the future for a little bit.
Yeah.
So Elite Suites has been around since 2017.
Yep. Year I graduated.
What separates good brands from great brands?
I think innovation. I think being kind of the first to do something or really kind of setting a standard. I think one thing that we always led with was the idea of innovation. It takes someone really ambitious to do that. And like I said, we were naive college students, so we started this literally in our college apartment. And ultimately, this has been my first full time job out of college and kind of what I've done since. And so we could have been another protein cookie, we could have been another protein bar, but we didn't want to be a Me Too product. We saw the opportunity, we saw the white space, and we really saw the vision of kind of if for every Coke, there's a Diet Coke, right? And so we thought for every Dunkin', every Krispy Kreme, there's got to be a better alternative to that. And I think that's what really set us apart. That and having a good team. Um, but really leading with innovation, I think, is the most important thing, and creating a great product. And we didn't have that at first. It took multiple iterations. It took time to continue to develop it, but having a great product and really leading with innovation and having a purpose, I think, are the most important things to create a great brand.
And when you mention we, I know that you're mentioning your brother Amir, your twin brother. So they always say that working with family is like mixing oil and water.
Yeah.
So how do you guys manage to separate being co-founders and business partners and being brothers, especially being so competitive amongst each other?
There is no balance, man. I mean, I think the reality is like we don't have this like work life balance. It's like it's both at the same time. Like we can do fun things together, but we'll probably still talk about business at some point during it, anyways. But we always the thing about working with your brother hard. It's hard as hell. We fight about everything. We disagree on a lot. But at the end of the day, we have the same vision. We have the same goal in mind. And no matter how hard we push each other, like we're still gonna have that same vision, at the same kind of light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's the beautiful thing about brothers. When you have like another co-founder, someone who's not family, I think you can maybe overstep, or you can really push the button too hard, if you will, for someone, and like people start to kind of separate and go their own ways. Like we're attached at the hip. We can't really go in opposite directions, so we have no choice but to get over it and work together. And I think that's the beautiful thing about a brother. You can really push each other's buttons, and at the end of the day, like we're gonna have to make up and get over it because we're family. Whereas like co-founders, you see them split or go, have these disagreements, and we can't have that. It's just impossible, no matter how mad we are at each other. And I think that's kind of the balance that we had, or that's kind of what made our relationship special. Dad and we're good at different things, so we complement each other, which I think is important. Um, so yeah, perfect balance for us.
They they say that, I guess, like behind every man there's a great woman, but behind every great entrepreneur
Mm,
is a great influence or a great mentor,
mm.
right? Who would you say was the biggest influence on you when it came to starting a business, and how did that person shape what kind of leader you are today?
Yeah, when I first started, I'm gonna be honest, man. We didn't have like a mentor, anyone that we looked up to, other like not like I guess a personal relationship. Let me say that. Like I was huge on watching like these like business podcasts and kind of seeing how I took inspiration from everyone. Whether they were in the finance space, whether you were in CPG, whatever it was. I love podcast. I love listening to podcasts, and that was kind of what motivated me and kind of like where I drew inspiration from. I'm not a big reader, like I said, and school was never my favorite thing to do, so I don't read books. I just like to listen, watch videos. But I would say just kind of taking a little bit of everything from everyone. I really looked up to like, the Halo Tops of the worlds, the Quest, kind of people within my adjacent space and kind of their path and how they grew exponentially. And then ultimately, after the first couple of years of meeting people, because like when we started, we knew nobody, we didn't have any resources. But we kind of grew up in this tech era. So like the Adam Newmans of WeWork, he was our first investor. So that was a cool person to watch his journey. There was the Ubers and Airbnbs that were really just coming up. And so sawing how these people and the Amazons of the world like really transformed their business and grew exponentially and kind of set the standard for what a startup is today, that was really inspiring. Ultimately, as we kind of created our business, we met people in the industry, like some of our advisors is the Super Coffee brothers. They're our age, and in 6 years they created a company worth $700 million, and just being a keto coffee company. Nick Ingersoll is the co-founder and CMO of a company called Barnana. He was really pivotal for us in the early days, and we didn't really know these guys. We just reached out to them. I think they kind of believed in what we were doing and built those relationships. And kind of looking up to these guys who have these successful businesses in the space is really kind of who we leaned into, and quote unquote our mentors throughout the process over the last few years.
So what attracted you to these specific founders, right? To like
Hmm.
the WeWorks, the Ubers, the Super Coffees. Like what attracted you to them? Like what did they have that you wanted?
Just their success, their resilience, and their ability to really grow. What's the word I'm looking for? Just to grow a special company, something that people really look up to. Like, I think at the time when everyone was talking about fundraising or what a successful company looked like, it was Uber was kind of the case study, right? Like Airbnbs of the world, and I think that was kind of like the trajectory. Like when you're young and you're naive and sky's the limit for you, right? We're like, oh, we're gonna be the next Uber, we're gonna be the next Airbnb, and reality hits pretty quickly. But I think it's us being naive and having that lofty goal is what really kept us going and really kept our minds focused on this. And then kind of seeing more industry specific. So like the Super Coffee guys, I think the fact that they and Nick from Barnana, the fact that they're young, I think we really gravitate towards younger people. Like I talked to some people in the space who are older, been in the space 20, 30 years. We don't have that same chemistry, that vibe where it's like the guys who are my age, we really clicked. I saw how they grew it, listening to their story. You're like, fuck, if they can do it, why can't I? Like, they're not Harvard, moguls or some geniuses. They don't come from these billion-dollar families. They're just regular guys like us. And I think that was what was so inspiring was like, if they can do it, we can do it. And then have like the top of the top, the cream of the crop is like who you look up to, and you're like, I want to be like that someday. And so I think that was kind of the balance between those kind of companies.
So, looking forward, let's say the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
What is your vision for Elite Sweets, and what do you want your legacy to be in the health and CPG industries? I guess within that time.
Yeah, I think my vision for Elite Sweets is, I would love to be the leader in the better for you sweets space, right? Like I want to be, in the next 5 to 10 years, the company that set the standard for better for you, some better for you products, like specifically right now the donut. Like when there's going to be 50 million better for you donut companies in 5 years, and I want them to all trying to one up us. We set the standard of what this looks like for like a low sugar keto protein packed donut, and I want us to be the bar that people are chasing or trying to set a new standard. But because we created this space, like there was obviously the first protein bar, like, or the Cliff or whatever, and now there's the Quest. I think the bar is always set higher, and that's great. I think it's great for competition. I think it's great for consumers to have these options. But that's what I want Elite Sweets to be, is really the standard. And ultimately, our vision is to just create a healthier world and like have more better for you options. I think that's something like if you look from today to like when I was even in high school, like I ate a Cliff Bar. That was my healthy. You know what I mean? Like now there's so many different options. There's low sugar. There's these words called keto. Like at the time we ate low carb, there was no word called keto. You know what I mean? And so I think I think it's cool to see the continuous innovation. Ultimately, my goal is to sell the business to some strategic. I would love to have, call it like a Kellogg's, a Bimbo, Mars, whoever, take over the business and really take the business to the next level. I acknowledge that we have our limitations as founders and we're limited on resources, where these food conglomerates can really take it to the next level. And so that's my ultimate goal with the brand, is like have someone who can, let the brand live way beyond me. And hopefully, personally, I'd love to inspire others peoples. And I think other people to how, the Super Coffee guys inspired me, and how I kind of looked up to some of these other people. I'd love to be, inspiration for other, kids out there who are looking to start their own business and don't have that guidance. And I think that's ultimately the legacy I'd like to leave behind.
Nice. So Kellogg's, Mondelez,
Yeah.
Mars, you guys hear this guy? He's ready to take his business to the next level. He just needs that push from you guys. So if you guys are listening, you can reach out to me and I'll reach out to Amin. So I mean, listen, I can talk to you all day, brother. And I know you got to go. So where can people find you? Where can people learn more about Elite Sweets and you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn personally. You can get the product on Amazon, elitedonut.com. We're launching in retailers like 7-Eleven. We just kind of launched regionally, and hopefully in 2024 we'll be nationwide. We're going to be launching in Vitamin Shop this December nationwide. We're in Gold's Gym, DoorDash, a bunch of different accounts, but you can check us out on our website, like I said, elitedonut.com, and hopefully in a store near you over the next couple of years.
You heard that? Elite Sweets on Amazon, 7-Eleven, Vitamin Shop in December. Amin, I appreciate you so much, my friend. I wish you many years of success.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me. This is awesome, and thanks again.